this tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to do depth of field. I'm going to first create a camera, and here's my camera. Right. I'll scale it up just so that it makes it easier to see. Okay. And then I'll create my geometry. Here's my polygon cube. And I'll assign it a few, just a basic material, something standard from RenderMan. So let's go to paint, and I'll give it a light red paint. And then I'll duplicate this guy, and I'll move him behind this way, and I'll give it a dark blue paint. And then I'll duplicate this guy, and I'll move him even further back, and kind of staggered. Okay, these are going to represent all sorts of objects that you guys have in your particular scene. Alright, and then I'll create a polygon plane to represent our floor. And I'll give that a silver paint. Alright, perfect. Next thing I need to do is create some sort of light source. So I'll right mouse click on the Pixar lights. I'll go to dome light. And if I were to go to RenderMan, IPR render, this is what I get. Alright? Something very basic. Okay, sweet. So, I won't save that. So I have my camera, I have my three objects, and I'm looking through my perspective. So I'm going to go to create Locator. And the Locator usually is created and placed right at the center of your screen. Right? It's this little green locator. Alright? It's like a crosshair. If you have a hard time finding that or selecting it, you can simply go into Window, Outliner, and in your outliner you can see there it is. Locator. Okay, so with the locator selected, I'm going to place this on the object that I want to focus on. So I'll hold V and I'll snap it to the edge of this geometry. Alright? And I can move this anywhere. It's still going to be right where I want it to be. Right in front of this object. Okay. Next thing I need to do is go to Display, Heads-Up Display, Object Detail. Immediately you're going to see in my upper right hand side it says distance from camera, 67.023. That's a really important number. However, we're not rendering from my perspective camera, we're rendering from my camera 1. So with my camera 1 selected, I'm going to go into panels, look through selected. Alright. So I'm going to click, so I'm looking through my, let me turn my film gate on. I'm looking through my camera 1, and I'm going to move my camera over here so I can see all three objects in my screen. Okay, perfect. Now, looking through camera 1 and having my locator selected, Maya tells me that that locator is 94.116 centimeters from the camera. Alright, so 94.116. Now I'm going to click on this button here, View, Select Camera, which takes me into my camera settings, and I'm going to scroll down here till I see the depth of field, which is right there. Turn it on. Focus distance 94.116. I mean, you don't probably need that many decimal points, values after decimal point. Alright, so you can see immediately in my viewport, like there's this kind of fuzzy edge going on here, right? And I'll give you a quick render and we'll see what we have. So IPR render, and nothing too crazy, nothing too noticeable just yet. Let me turn that up. Alright, so I'm going to change the focus regional scale. So right now it's at a value of 1. If I change it to a value of 2, it's actually going to make the objects outside of it brighter. So I'm sorry, not brighter, but it changes the scale. Let me change that back to 1, and I'm going to actually change the f-stop. So as I dial this thing to higher value, and sometimes it's more noticeable on a scene that has more geometry. Right. Let's do. This is what I am going to do. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to put a picture on one of these objects so that you can see that image being blurred. So let's go to new material. Let's go to Pixar Disney, and I'll simply put like a checker pattern on it. Alright, and let's go into place 2D texture. I'll repeat that 5x5. Alright, so I just repeated that checker pattern so we could see the effect of the depth of field a bit more. And then I'm going to add the same Pixar Disney to this guy. So let's go to existing, Pixar Disney 1, and so they both have the same checker pattern. Okay, let's go back to RenderMan, IPR render. And again, your assignment, so your depth of field will probably be more visible than what mine is because of the fact that I have these just basic cubes. So let's go back to my camera. So view, select camera, and I'll change the f-stop. So now as I dial it lower, you can see how these objects in the background are much more out of focus. Can you see that? See? So this object is much more out of focus. Alright? If you want those objects in focus, then you can change the f-stop number. Okay? And then the focus regional scale, if I change that to a value of 2, it starts to draw those guys more into focus. So we, instead of having our extreme focus on the box, it starts to incorporate these other cubes into focus, and it gives you a blurry edge. So I think 3 is a little bit too high. If I change it maybe to 1.5, you notice that the back box here is out of focus, it's blurred, and then this guy is in focus. If I change that value, actually it is a little bit out of focus. Alright, and then the original value is 1. And again, if I dial this value down, or higher, you're going to see the effects of the depth of field. Alright, so the most important thing is to set up your locator, right, which is found under the create locators, and place that locator directly in front of the object that you want to be in focus. Alright, it doesn't have to necessarily be directly on that surface, it could be here, but I usually try to put it on that surface. So usually just press and hold V. Alright, and then you want to go into the display, heads-up display, and turn on the object details. Alright, you're going to create a camera, look through that camera one, and then select your locator, and it'll tell you what the distance is from the camera, 93.873. You go into view, select camera, and then in your attributes editor you turn on the depth of field, and then turn the change the focus distance to the value that you want, and then the f-stop will change the focus, right? So you actually see it a bit more interactive in your viewport here. So let me try to square this off. No pun intended. All right. So as you can see, as I go left to right, you can see the objects blurring out, and that adds a bit more realism to your scene. All right. Okay, so I'll give you one final render, and let's open up our. So you can see in this final render, the boxes in the background with the checker pattern are out of focus, and our red cube is more in focus. All right, so that's how you create a simple depth of field using RenderMan in mind.